everyone, today Alvaring's a brand new documentary just dropped on Netflix called Should I Marry a Murderer? And this documentary takes place in Scotland. We see this Caroline, she is engaged to this guy that she didn't know he did in fact hit and run murder a cyclist and buried him somewhere in Scotland. And later on we find out that Karolina, when she goes to the police and she becomes the prime witness for this murder investigation. This true crime series starts with, we just listen to the Caroline, how she looking for love, and on Tinder, she meet this great guy who seems really nice at first, and she was describing to the audience, at first he seems like this manly guy and everything. When I was listening to him, I was just like, oh wow. So this documentary has 3 episodes, it's really, I guess, lays out the audience, what is Karolina, what was she thinking, she's out there finding real love, and she meets this guy. She has, at first, obviously she thought he's great, but of course when she finds out this guy, he might be a murderer, I guess she tried to do what is right. And we see as the show goes on, she was let down by the police. She went to the police, they didn't help her properly, and it created all this problem for her, her parents, her whole family, and of course the guy who is this murderer. And we see the series ends with he was sentenced to jail for 10 years because end of the day, I guess he didn't call, he wasn't convicted for first degree murder. He was convicted for hit and run, and his sentence was only 10 years. So that was kind of weird, because I guess the judge didn't thought he was a cold blooded murderer or anything. So how was the overall documentary? I must say the first episode is very interesting. Same time, it is quite shocking when you watch it. As the audience, you learn more about the whole situation, with witness protection and everything. You feel like you are watching this Hollywood story. You never, the way this is done, you really feels like this is a Hollywood story you are watching. But as it goes on, and all the detective and investigation comes out, and the person who was hit and run, turns out he was the cyclist, the victim. When you hear his part of the story, it's very sad. And as the documentary goes on, it was overall very gripping, and was really very interesting story. I see a lot of people are hating on Karolina because the way she was talking in this documentary, this woman, she's sharing her lot of thoughts with the audience. Some audience didn't like it, so it's understandable. I guess a lot of people are calling her this but I guess if you think about the situation she was in, she was in really is very unusual position she was in, right? This guy, she really loved him and everything, and she was engaged, and of course he asked her so many things. Then, she tried to do what is right thing to do, although it took her a long time. But I guess overall, Karolina, she wasn't a bad person, I thought, end of it. Although that is the documentary was trying to tell people, because this is at some point, she was about to marry this murderer. So yeah, but the way it ends her story, I think that was the point for this documentary, which some people will not like, because this documentary really telling people how she felt in that moment, even she was telling and everything. Yeah, and it did piss off some people. I see people are angry at her, but I guess end of the day, Karolina, she was trying to do what is right, she thought. But end of the day, overall, this documentary, it is shocking as it goes on. You're just like, oh, wow. But overall, it isn't very perfect documentary, because I thought the middle of it did get very, all this investigation and all this detective comes on and talking. I was just like, whoa, give me more inside news about Karolina and how she's finding out and everything. It takes long time to get to that, I will say. So I did find, honestly, I did found it a little dragged out too much. If it was just one episode, could have been fine. Like, it was 3 episodes and it was just like going in circles, some of the investigation. I agree, it is the important investigation, but it still was going pretty in circles. Just like, I didn't like it, honestly, the how it was dragged out. But overall, especially the last episode is good. Like, overall, it is quite, it still is very interesting, like, documentary. Like, I say it is trending #1 because it is so interesting. Like, as you learn more about the case, it's just so shocking and bizarre. And like, wow. It is at the same time, she didn't have choice. Overall, yeah, I like that Karolina, she did what is she thought right. And I did like how it ended for her part of the story. That was the point for this documentary. She wanted to tell her story. And that is what she did here. You may not like, but overall, yeah, I did like it. And that was my thought. Let me know in the comment, what do you think about this documentary? If you enjoyed this review, don't watch other reviews on other documentary. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe. Until I see you next time, please take